So just when I think I can't love Kamala Harris anymore, she comes out with this epic mic drop moment when she's asked about some comments that was made about her recently by Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Sarah Huckabee Sanders said her children keeps her humble. And Kamala was asked what she thought about that. And folks, this response, I'm going to break it into two parts because it deserves the attention. Take a look.
There has been a very big fixation on biological children, stepchildren, women that have children versus women that don't have children. It's like a huge point somehow of this entire election, right? I saw the governor of Arkansas said, "My kids keep me humble." Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble. How did that make you feel?
I don't think she understands that there are a whole lot of women out here who, one, are not aspiring to be humble. Two, a whole lot of women out here who have a lot of love in their life, family in their life, and children in their life. And I think it's really important for women to lift each other up.
That is the most epic comeback ever. Can I get some more of that? There are women out there who are not aspiring to be humble. I love that. And going into this election, women cannot aspire to be humble. They need to be bold and out there and right up in everyone's face, letting everyone know that they're sick and tired of being walked on, letting everyone know that they're sick and tired of seeing their rights circle the drain, while people like Trump and Vance goes out and does nothing but try to muddy the water and distort the arguments. And they're trying to muddy the water and distort the arguments of what the American family really is. And when you hear Maga talking about the American family, and you hear someone like J.D. Vance going on about the American family, I'm sorry, but they're way behind the times. And I'm so glad in this next segment that Kamala brings that point across, that, you know what, the American family is pretty diverse these days. Take a look.
Tell you, Alex, one of the things that I have really enjoyed about where the discussion has gone, one of the places it's gone, we have our family by blood, and then we have our family by love. And I have both. And I consider it to be a real blessing. And I have two beautiful children, Cole and Ella, who call me Mamala. We have a very modern family. My husband's ex-wife is a friend of mine, and also I'll tell you, look, I'm a child of divorced parents. And when I started dating Doug, my husband, I was very thoughtful and sensitive to making sure that until I knew that our relationship was something that was going to be real, I didn't want to form a relationship with the kids and then walk away from that relationship. My own experience tells me that, children form attachments and you really want to be thoughtful about it. And so I waited to meet the kids, and they are my children, and I love those kids to death. And family comes in many forms, and I think that increasingly, all of us understand that, this is not the 1950s anymore. Families come in all kinds of shapes and forms.
So anyone who has watched my channel for any amount of time knows that one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone says they want to go back in time. And especially the ones that wasn't even born then but wants to go back to the 1950s. It's not the 1950s anymore, and they're never coming back, and it's not natural to move backwards. I was born in 1980. I grew up in the 80s. I was a teenager in the 90s. Yeah, those were great times. But do you know why they were great times? They were great times because I didn't have any responsibility. Because all I had to do was stay home and play my Nintendo and jump on the trampoline and do wrestling moves and do power bombs off of it through tables that we built and jump off ladders like idiots. I mean, if we'd have had cell phones and YouTube back in those days, Tennessee Brando wouldn't be known as a political commentator. I would be known for doing crazy stunts on trampolines. But that was a time that was fun, but I don't want to go back to it. I have no desire to go back in time. Folks, I honestly don't have no desire to go back to the moment before I sat down to make this video. I just want to keep moving forward, and I want to keep evolving, and I want to see society to continue to progress. That's what I want to see. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation about the American family, and people like Trump and Vance and the Maga, they might have kind of forced our hand into having this conversation, but I'm glad they did. Because while they went out there and kept pushing this Leave It to Beaver style of family on everybody, that And by the way, when they say American family, they're only talking about their specific definition of it. They've been trying to push that brand on the rest of us, when in actuality, it's not reality. That's not how it is anymore. And listen, if anyone out there has the Leave It to Beaver style of family these days, and you're holding it together, good for you. I mean, that's great. But it's not the majority anymore. It's not how it is. Nowadays, we do have family by blood, and we have family by love. Anytime that someone asks me how many kids I got, I always say 5. I never tell them that one of my children isn't biologically mine, because that's irrelevant. He is my family. I love him. He's my son. I'm his dad. I'm the only dad he's ever known. That's how we are. And I don't start it off by saying, oh, these are 4 are mine here, and then this one here is, that's ridiculous. I don't do that, because it's none of anybody's business. My story, his story, is none of anyone's business but ours. Mind your own damn business. Ain't that what Tim Walz says? So there is family out there by blood. There's family by love. And I loved when she was talking about how she gets along with her, with Doug's ex-wife. That's great. There is a lot of that goes on in the world. I get along great with my first wife's husband. We have good conversations. We get along. We work together. We get things done together. We have no problem whatsoever. If he needs me right now, he knows he can call, and vice versa. That's how it should be. Now, me personally, I grew up in a home with a mom and dad who are still together to this day. My children come from divorced homes, and there's part of me that's felt bad about that. But I just have to understand, and we all have to grow and understand that times are different, and we're in a different place. And, no one really ever sets out, I don't think, to get divorced. I don't think anybody gets married with the idea that, hey, I'm going to do this and then I'll do it again later. I mean, it's one of those things where things just happen and you wind up in different scenarios and different boats. And then one day you look around and you go, you know what? I don't really have the conventional family. I don't really have the Leave It to Beaver model, but what I have is still family, and what I have is still meaningful for me. And what I loved so much was when she was talking about how that she was very protective of the children going into a new relationship, and how she shielded the kids from that, because how kids gets attached. Another massive pet peeve of mine is when people says, why don't you post your relationship status on Facebook, buddy? Why don't you tell everybody what you're doing? Well, because there's certain children that I'm trying to protect in this moment. There's certain situations that I feel is just best left between those of us involved, and it's not social media's business. So I thought that I loved Kamala Harris and I was excited to vote for her, but I am more so than ever because of that epic mic drop moment, and because she's having this conversation that I never really thought we would be having, but that J.D. Vance and Trump and Maga just sort of accidentally duped us into having. They went out there trying to lay down the law and say, this is the American family. The man sits at the head of the table and, he makes all the decisions and the woman has no rights. And I don't want it to be that way at all. I think we can all have our own families. And however our family is, whatever model it is, whatever fits us, is what we should have the right to exercise and do in this world. And not pass judgment on other people. When you show up at the football game to cheer on one of your kids, if you're standing there with your new partner and your child's mother's over here with her new husband, and then one of them's stepson's over here with someone else, who gives a damn? It's your right to have whatever family you want to in this world. And I do not encourage my daughter to be humble. I don't want women to be humble. I think it's attractive when they're not. I think it's attractive when they stand up and say, we're not taking this shit. We're not going back. When Kamala said, say it to my face, I ain't gonna lie, I thought it was very attractive. Because that's the type of woman we need. That's the type of leadership that we need. Not this, and listen, again, there's nothing wrong with that Leave It to Beaver family if that's what works for you. But it should never be forced, and J.D. Vance doesn't get to define it, because that guy just changes with with whatever's popular today. He was a never Trump guy, now he's a Trump guy, and when this is all over, you'll see him try to rebrand himself as something else. He was doing that at the debate with Tim Walz. With Tim Walz, he was standing there trying to go ahead and distance himself because he realizes that the ship is sinking. But he doesn't get to define the American family. Only we can define that, and define it in whatever way works best for us. So yeah, I think that kind of backfired on the J.D. Vances of the world. They thought they could go out there and twist everybody's arm, and then Kamala just comes out with some truth and says, hey, this is the American family, and the American families are diverse, and I think that's what truly makes us great. I really do. But folks, I want to thank you so much again for hitting that subscribe button. If you haven't already, be sure to do so. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. If you would like some exclusive content, check us out over on Patreon. I've been pumping out some music on there. I just put out a new one today, a cover song of me doing the old Joe Maphis tune, Dim Lights, Thick Smoke, and Loud Music. I'm finally getting back to where I can talk again and sing again, and so it felt pretty good to knock the dust off my vocal cords. So if you want to hear me do stuff like that, and if you want to hear and see some more non-political content, if you actually made it to this point in the video and you're sort of going, I don't agree with nothing you say, I wish you'd just play music, well, you can check me out over on Patreon. That's where I'm doing that these days. But guys, thank you so much for your support, and you guys have a great day.